welcome to the A Bit of AI show with your hosts, Henk and Amy.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 11th A Bit of AI show. My name is Henk Boelman. I'm a white male with brown hair, wearing glasses and a dark blue shirt today.
And hi, my name's Amy. I am a female. I am wearing a blue shirt with pink flowers. And today, Henk, I chose this outfit because the weather was looking to get slightly better. It's sort of the end of May. It's okay. It was better yesterday. And so I've jumped too early, I think, on the summer clothing, unfortunately.
Yeah, we decided to go camping like last weekend, and I decided May is like too early for camping. It was just raining.
Oh no. There we go. Our life in Europe is always unpredictable weather, I think, when me and Henk live.
Exactly, yes. So once again, welcome everyone to the A Bit of AI show. And this show is not about weather, but is all about the story from the people behind AI. Because in our job, as cloud advocates, Amy and me meet so many people around the world. When we were traveling, now we meet them virtually. And we realized that there are so many different skills involved in bringing an AI solution to work. From pre-sales to recruiting to actually creating the deep neural networks and running them finally in production and learn from them. So in this show, we invite people from all over the world that are professionals in the AI and data space to have a chat and talk what they're actually doing during this week and find out how they got to the point they are in their career. This is the 11th episode, and we couldn't be more excited to start talking to our guests and learn more about what they do. In today's show, we have two items. We start with our guest, Annelien, to chat about her life in AI. And finally, we dive into the AI Learning Challenge of the week. As always, everything can be found on our website, abitofai.show.
And Henk, don't forget, after the show, if you want to join us as viewers in the Bit of AI Cafe, which is a friendly get-together with speakers, hosts, and viewers, so you all out there, then do please join us. It's aka.ms/abitofai-cafe. And you'll also find that in the chat. We always end up posting it in the chat, which is really handy.
Yeah, and it is also always on our website in the top menu. Let's get started and invite Annelien to the show.
Hi everyone. Hi Henk. Hi Amy.
Hi. How are you doing? We are always good. We are good over here. It's you're our 11th guest, but it's not last but certainly not least in some senses. We're really, really excited to talk to you. So let's get straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the space of AI?
Okay, so to those in Europe, good morning. To others, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Annelien. And I'm not sure whether this is a thing, but I'm wearing a dark blue shirt as well. So I'm not being very creative today. But here we go. And I work for Microsoft Belgium at the moment. I'm a cloud architect, and actually I focus on all public sector clients. So that means the federal government, the Flemish and the Walloon government, and I have a little bit of a focus on energy clients, but I cover the whole public sector. So my job actually consists of talking to clients about their ideas, their future roadmap, what they want to do, and to kind of keep up to date with the news. For example, do we have to now work with smart meters if we talk about energy and so on? So I really have to understand the clients, and then I have to sit with them, technology people, and see how we can build that in the cloud. And sometimes we build something from scratch, which is entirely new. And sometimes we have to build something that has to fit in within their existing cloud or hybrid environment. And yeah, that's my job. Lots of whiteboarding and giving advice.
Wonderful, goodness me. And we have met someone previously who was in a similar role in some senses, but not with inside Microsoft. And so it's interesting to hear kind of your perspective on it as well. And also, I'm always just in awe of the amount of technology I'm sure you're going to tell us you have to cover. But before we get on to that, all jobs in the industry daily look different, often wildly different. But could you describe to us sort of what an average day in your life looks like?
Okay, so indeed, as an architect, I do cover a broad technology stack. I'm not really focused on something. I work on the big data and AI space, which means that I have to work with IoT, with data warehousing, with machine learning. So, this means that I'm covering lots of technology. So I usually start the morning with reading some blogs. And looking at the documentation, seeing if there are updates, my emails, and sometimes I also, if I have time, check it out in my environment immediately. And then usually every day I have a couple of meetings with clients. So I spare some time preparing them. I spend some time and I have the meetings. But actually also a big part of my job is having conversations with colleagues internally in, okay, how will we help the clients? How will we approach it? And sometimes that also involves talking to implementation partners. So yeah, that's the biggest part of my job. Learning and educating, but also, making roadmaps and designs.
Wonderful. It's so broad, but I love that you mentioned kind of that sharing everything that you're learning back into your team as well, because I'm assuming, do you find that they're learning other things and then that just means that you almost leapfrog that first fence in some senses of getting the next piece of information? That's super interesting.
But also, I mean, obviously, I also have my specialty, which is more into the machine learning space. But when I work with clients, often, we all learn from each other because in the end, we all know a little bit more about something, and I bring my experience and knowledge, but they bring theirs. And in the end, it's all like a nice mix of people, learning each other things. And then we come to, a nice architecture, hopefully.
Wonderful. No, it's so true. It's so true. And everyone has experiences in certain technologies, and then actually, you're like, oh, I've used that in a project previously with a different type of customer, and this is kind of how it worked best. Or here's some of the things that we need to watch out for. Like it's that must be great to be building up all that knowledge. Yeah. Speaking of, can you tell us a little bit about one of the current projects you're working on? And share with us kind of what are the things that you're seeing in the data and AI space?
Okay, so perhaps I will give some examples of projects that are really tangible and easy to understand for the listeners and viewers. For example, a really cool project I've been working on is the conversion of going from normal buses that are driving people in the city to electric buses. So when you change from normal buses that drive on fuel to those that drive electrically, you cannot replace them one by one, right? Because the average kilometer span of those buses is different, and also the amount of time they need to recharge is different. So in order to make that calculation, we actually have to look for each driver of the bus, how that person drives, how hard does he or she push on the brakes or on the gas, and how does that influence how we use the electric energy in the buses. So we have been working on a project like that. It's really nice. And about a year ago, we also started in one part of Belgium to change all the meters that you have in your house that calculate the energy you use and make them smart meters. So they send more often information to the cloud, so you can actually check online on a dashboard your more or less life consumption. So we work with quarterly values and hourly values, so you can see it online. And yeah, that's rather cool. Obviously, there are also some projects more with the police we've been working on, and that involves more working with images and so on. So video camera. But I think the biggest part of my work is not necessarily the needy and greedy AI, but it's still a lot of data. Because when companies want to do machine learning on a greater scale, they do most of the time need to have a good data platform in place. And that means working with data lakes or delta lakes, data warehousing, and also still lots of reporting. Because lots of companies still have on-premise reports that they share internally and sometimes also externally, but there are lots of duplicates. The data is not always working well. The visuals aren't, up to date. And we also see a shift from people making reports and pushing them to other colleagues, but also or a shift to where also end users can start creating their own visuals, which is called self-service BI. So we see that now we have a mix of self-service and pre-made reports, and of course the whole environment has to be adapted to that. Because when we see self-service, it means that people will query live systems. So also these systems need to be optimized, bigger, more powerful, more data. And yeah, that's a big part of my work.
Gosh. No, it's interesting you tap on that kind of data side of it. Like you said, you specialize in machine learning, you cover data and AI, and actually these things almost don't come without each other. Like AI doesn't come without hopefully some kind of tidy data estate or that that first step, which is getting data through reporting into people's hands so that they can make decisions. I love the piece around self-service. I do always find that's important. Like as much as we have those like pre-built dashboards that will tell you the high level, you often want to dig into something very specific to you, right? And that's kind of what's most important to be able to get out of it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. And so you mentioned kind of that piece around, okay, we're looking at data estates. What types of technologies are you seeing being used there?
So that highly depends also on the clients, on how they look at, for example, vendor lock-in or technology lock-in. We have some clients who really want to go Microsoft technology all the way. And in that case, we work with Synapse, which is the data warehouse technology. We have Data Factory we can use for ETL, along with Databricks for more complex transformations, Power BI. But we also have clients who actually like to work on our cloud, but they also want to mix in some other technologies, like, for example, Apache Airflow for ETL, or they're looking at Snowflake for the data warehouse. Or, for example, Click for their reporting. But sometimes we also have architectures in which we use SAP for some pieces. So you could use it for data warehousing, but you also have IoT use cases and so on. So the technology I work with highly depends on the client, and sometimes we just integrate what they really like into our stack, but sometimes you also have to compete. Compete exists of really understanding what the client wants, what features, what is their roadmap, what do they really want to achieve, and seeing, how does our technology can give that to you, and perhaps not the other technology. So it's kind of soft compete. And then for machine learning, often we use Azure Machine Learning Service, the SDK, but we also use lots of notebooks, or sometimes it still happens on virtual machines. And lots of technology that is being used in that space is also often open source.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Annalene, we're going to need to spend more time with you. You just mentioned about 26 different technologies that you know about. So we definitely have to have more time with you in the future. But Henk, you wanted to dig a little bit into how Annalene got here.
Yes, exactly. So it's really interesting to learn what you're doing at the moment. But I'm also interested in how you got to this point in your career. Where did you start, and
Yeah.
how did you move into AI?
So I actually have a really, let's say, interesting background. When I started to study at university, I wasn't really very sure I wanted to do IT. I always loved mathematics and computers, but I started my first year off taking law classes and economics classes and language classes. And actually, I finished my first bachelor and master in language understanding. But I really pretty soon realized that I really was missing the mathematical side and a more analytical side. So during my bachelor, I also took computer science classes so that when I had done my master in language, I could do my master in AI and just take also still some bachelor classes. So I had 1 year in which I had, more classes than the normal amount. And so, yeah, I graduated doing my languages and my AI. And then for me, it was very natural to specialize in natural language processing. Um, and yeah, I still like it till today, actually. And then I used to work in a bank, and I work more on the data warehousing side. Um, and then after that, I went to Microsoft. I first worked in Dublin, and there I could really go back more into nurturing the machine learning and the whole stack. Um, and then after a year and a half, I moved back to Belgium, where I work now. So I really love technology. I love AI, all of it really. But I have a really diverse or have a broad range of interests, and I'm really happy that I could combine it the way I have done. So
Oh, I love those stories from everyone. How they reach the point. For everyone, it is so completely different, and then we find
yeah.
ourselves somehow all at the same point. But we all got there. It's really cool. So then another question. So you work with a part of your role covers AI. So what do you find the most annoying thing about your role working with AI?
That's a good question, and it's really difficult to answer. I think sometimes what is annoying is that when I have to work with people who have a very, let's say, conservative on-prem mindset, and they don't have a good idea of what PaaS services are and how working. Because if you work in the cloud and you really want to leverage all its power, you cannot really work exactly as you would do on premises. So that is sometimes annoying. Also, that I sometimes work with people who are afraid to learn new technologies and want to stay to their old stack. And that goes for AI and machine learning. In order to really truly do it well, you need to have a very mature, let's say, overview of the data that you have, how you want to use it. So you really need to have a good defined business case and a good basis to start off from. And that's not necessarily always the case when I talk to clients. Yeah, and it can be quite annoying.
I can imagine that, yes.
Very wise words, though. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Annalene, we've got to the point in our show where we do something called our quickfire questions. Our quickfire questions. Don't be nervous. It's fine. It's fine. They are nice and easy. The only thing that we ask is that you give the first answer you think of and keep it fairly short for us if possible. And we're going to very quickly alternate through about 6 different questions, and I'm sure you'll do phenomenal. So let's get started with it. So first question, a nice easy one, is what was your first programming language?
My first, I think it was C. Yeah.
Nice.
What programming language was used in the last project you worked on?
Python.
It's always Python.
I know, we are seeing a pattern there, if I'm honest. What was the last thing that you learnt in AI, and can you keep it to no more than a sentence?
The last thing I learned in AI is actually related to one of your past speakers, was the PyTorch Lightning. So
Yes,
when I started to play
from
with that.
Ori.
Yeah. Yes.
Nice. Wonderful. That's a good one.
Your favorite event on the AI calendar?
Oh, that's really hard to say. I like Tekohama. Yeah.
Good one. Good one. Tekorama, very popular. Okay, the next one. What area of AI is on your list to skill up on next? So, what would you like to learn in AI?
I think I really want to keep skilling up into the NLP space because I like it. It has really, nice use cases. Yeah, I like it, especially in the accessibility technology area.
Great. And what training framework did you use in your last project?
Good question. I'm doubting. I don't know. My last project, I'm not sure. I cannot give an honest answer.
No, that's fine. I was gonna say, yeah, no, the training framework one has been the one that's been the most varied answers in some senses. And yeah, I would say maybe the project, what language did you use in your last project has been the one with the least varied answers. Apart from some people jumped into the big data side of it. So there was some stuff around, more around Spark and stuff like that as well. So no, that's very interesting. Well, thank you so much, Annelien, for your answers. The quickfire round, you did such a good job. Love those different answers. Can you tell us just very quickly as well, given all these different things that you have to do on a daily basis, what's your recipe for learning something new? How do you go about learning something new?
I think the best way to learn something new is just to do it. But I think the more or the older I get or the more experienced, I really grab more often to really spending time reading about technology. I used to just go and try out things and then I got stuck and I had to retry. And now I really spend time really reading the documentation very well first and then giving it a try. So I think for me, learning is really finding the middle into just doing and enjoying it and really being serious about looking at what's actually there. And
yeah,
I think also,
no, I really appreciate that. That's good. It's a good point though. Again, like properly reading the docs before kind of just being like, what is going on here?
Yes, and just planning in time and doing it because we have so many things to do in a day, and if you don't really plan it in, it's just not happening. Yeah.
I hear you. I need to do a bit more planning of it into my calendar as well, to be honest with you. Like you said, you never ever leave it till the last minute in some senses. Try and have that time carved out, especially in the space of AI. Well, Annelien, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming, telling us about what you do, how you got to where you are, answering our quickfire question round, but also giving us a lot of insight on how you learn as well.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Well, we will see Annelien in the cafe. So, Annelien, we will catch you in a few minutes over there.
Okay. I think, by the way, that Django must have been the last one, but I wasn't sure, so I quickly.
Oh, there we go. Wonderful. Quick, get that in. The last answer. Good stuff. All right, we will speak to you in the cafe, Annelien. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. So, episode 11 is almost finished.
I know.
So
I don't know
everyone,
how.
yeah. So I just have one announcement of an event that is taking place. And it's taking place next week. It's actually very obvious. It's built. It's going to be from, I think, Tuesday up to Thursday, depending on your time zone. And I've seen the schedule. And it's going to be great. Do you have any insights on what we can expect for AI sessions, Amy?
Oh, I signed up, I registered, so go to mybuild.microsoft.com to go register for Build next week. We've obviously got different themes going on at this build, so go and check out the 4 themes. That will help you pinpoint your area in which I was able to kind of dig in and fill up what I love, my backpack and my schedule with all the different things I'd be interested in. And I also love that there's a lot of quite interactive sessions that you kind of RSVP for. I think that's really cool. I'm excited to get involved.
Perfect. Looking forward to that. So I think we are going to close up with our Learn Challenge. So what did you pick this week, Amy?
Well, I thought I would go along a slightly different line. So after speaking with Annalene, and we talked so broadly about all the different things she had to cover, I thought it was really important to focus on the data side of it this week. We've done a lot with AI pieces specifically, but we've maybe neglected a little bit that the data has to be in a great place, in a robust system in some senses that you're able to actually build off for these machine learning and AI experiments. So I've popped 3 different modules in there. We have explore roles and responsibilities in the world of data. So roles and responsibilities being who does what different types of skills they have, and all the different types of data you might be looking at. And then I went sort of pure data store and went for the introduction to Azure Data Lake Storage. Interestingly, I had a tweet recently that talked about an analogy I used many years ago around data lakes, which someone found quite entertaining and remembered. So definitely go and check out some data lake information. And then finally, how do you get your data first into the cloud? So integrating data with Azure Data Factory or Azure Synapse pipelines is definitely a really exciting one. That's actually one that I have not done, so I need to go and do that this week.
I have to do them all.
Yeah, we have to do them all. So if you go to aka.ms/abitofai-learn, you will find our Cloud Skills Challenge for this week there. It is open right now until Monday. Wonderful. Well, we only have a few seconds left, so I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today, and we really hope you've enjoyed the show. We're here every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central European Time for 30 minutes. But in the 30 minutes after our show, so in 1 minute's time, do come and join us in the A Bit of AI Cafe at aka.ms/abitofai-cafe, where you can talk to ourselves, you can talk to each other, but you can also talk to our wonderful guest. And so with that, just want to say thank you so much for watching A Bit of AI show with Henk and Amy.